The Ghana Statistical Service, GSS, had covered almost half of the expected households to be enumerated as of last Sunday, 7 days into the 2021 population and housing census, according to the chief statistician, Professor Samuel Kobne-Anim. Data received from 99.2% of enumeration cases in all 16 regions and 272 statistical districts indicate that an average of 42.1% of the expected households have been enumerated. The completion rate ranges from 27.09% in the Greater Accra region to 63.89% in the Northeast region. In 9 out of the 16 regions, enumeration completed on day 7 of the 14-day exercise is in excess of 50%. Professor Samuel Kobne-Anim on Tuesday told the media the exercise had been smooth over the past 1 week. The assessment, he said, was based on systems for monitoring, which included the enumeration tracking dashboard, consistency checks, and edit specifications. He said assessment also relied on reports from key officials on the ground, such as field officers, district data quality management teams, national monitors, and international observers. He said a seamless transition from listing to enumeration and identification of areas needing support for the completion of listing also contributed to the smoothness of the exercise. Professor Anim said the challenges encountered so far had all been anticipated, including the inability to meet respondents during the daytime due to people leaving early for work and returning late in urban areas and in rural farming communities where people leave early for their farms and return late. Others were flooding, which prevented enumerators from accessing some communities and crossing to island and overbank communities, the discovery of extinct and emerging localities, challenges with synchronizing data, and accidents involving field officers, he added. In some communities, the enumerators also encountered refusal by residents to participate in the exercise. Those places were in the German North and the Kassina-Nankana West districts. The GSS, he said, was deploying targeted interventions in those areas to speed up the pace of work. The measures included the deployment of support enumerators and engagement with opinion leaders and community members to persuade their neighbors and people to avail themselves for the exercise. The government statistician said the issue of accidents was a concern that the management of the service had been working to address since the start of data collection, saying it had been cited in briefings to Parliament and the chair of the National Census Steering Committee during the listing exercise. The government statistician noted that the 2021 population and housing census aimed at complete coverage and quality data, and that the GSS had put in place several real-time data monitoring and field supervision mechanisms to ensure that those objectives were achieved. He, however, said the support of the public was required to complement those efforts. President Nana Addo akufo-addo on Wednesday said Ghana looks to deepening diplomatic relations and bilateral ties with the Swiss Confederation. The president reiterated that is why Ghana was cooperating with the Swiss government in the areas of energy, climate change, education, and trade, among other areas of common interests. The president said these when he hosted a former Swiss president, Simonetta Sommaruga, for a working lunch at the Jubilee House in Accra. Madame Sommaruga, who is the current Swiss Minister for Environment, Traffic, Energy and Communications, is in Ghana as part of a 2-nation tour of Africa, which has also taken her to Senegal. President akufo-addo recalled the relations between the two states, which dated back to when the Swiss missionaries settled in Ghana in the early days of Christianity in the country. He said the country and its people had in no small measure contributed to what Ghana was today.
We all know the very positive impact and influence of Swiss nationals on our national development. They have a lot to do with the fact that today 70% of Ghanaians are Christians. And much of the initial work that was done by Swiss missionaries to arrive at this result for us today. And since then, We've had this very, very, very strong relationship. Your predecessor's president was one of the very first foreign dignitaries, leaders to come to Ghana at the beginning of my presidency in 2017, I believe, was when she came here. And then we've had this, and I myself had the opportunity to come to Switzerland, and then you've come here today. So you're very, very welcome.
The president also emphasized the dominance of Ghana's cocoa in the relations between both nations and commended the continuous interest of Swiss chocolate companies to purchase Ghanaian cocoa. He expressed gratitude to the Swiss government for supporting Ghana to increase renewable energy and was hopeful that with further cooperation, the country could achieve its goal of having at least 10% of renewable energy in its energy mix in the next decade.
The importance of cocoa continues to be dominant in our relations. I have to acknowledge the continuing interest of Swiss companies in purchasing Ghanaian cocoa. It's good that we have a reliable consumer of our products. So I can say, very welcome. There's so many areas of our national life where we are strongly appreciative and indebted to your initiatives in education and in environmental discussions. We have this big commitment that we're hoping that by the end of the decade, our energy mix will be at least 10% of it will be in the area of renewable energy. And the cooperation that we're receiving from you in that area will go a long way. I think there's a lot of exploration of ideas and initiatives that I can foresee in this area, which will be very beneficial.
On her part, Simonita Somaruga also lauded the long-standing, good and close contacts between Switzerland and Ghana. She recalled President Akufo-Addo's reciprocal visit to Switzerland in 2020, which according to her had strengthened the bonds between the two nations. The Swiss minister further told the president about the Climate Change Protection Agreement signed between the country and Ghana, which will see Switzerland assume its responsibilities in international climate policy. The agreement will also enable Switzerland reduce its carbon emissions partly abroad through climate protection projects in Ghana.
Your visit also for us, it was a very important moment. It was just before COVID crisis started really exploded, I have to say, but that we have this opportunity. And I think your visit, Mr. President, has also strengthened our relation. In the meantime, we have concluded a very important agreement on climate protection. It was really a work of pioneers. We are leaders worldwide with such an agreement that we want to reduce the CO2 emissions in your country. Switzerland makes the investment and we can count the reductions on our side. So we have the investments in your country and we can do more CO2 emission reductions in our country. We want to have that in a close cooperation with the private sector. So I know that for you, Mr. President, this is something very important, that it's not the state who has to do everything, but that you have also the inclusion of the private sector.
Switzerland concluded a similar agreement with Peru in October 2020. Ghana is Switzerland's second biggest African trading partner after South Africa, with Ghana's main exports to Switzerland predominantly gold and cocoa.
The Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Dubalwi, has opened the second edition of the International Maritime Defense Exhibition and Conference with a call on countries bordering the Gulf of Guinea and stakeholders in the international maritime industry to collaborate and develop a regional and international framework to address the rising scourge of piracy along the coast. International Maritime Defense Exhibition 2021, co-hosted by the Ghana Navy and the Ghana Air Force, is bringing together participants from over 70 countries, including Ghana's Minister for Defense, Honorable Dominic NET2, about 15 chiefs of navies and air forces, over 30 speakers and exhibitors, in a concerted effort to brainstorm and come up with long-term solutions to address the surge in attacks by pirate action groups, PAGs, and increase in incidences of kidnapping for ransom. Speaking at the opening ceremony on Wednesday, Vice President Bawumia noted that the perpetrators of criminal activities at sea have not been deterred by the paralyzing effect of COVID-19. Indeed, have rather stepped up their attacks, hence the need for all to work expeditiously to safeguard our maritime domain.
As nations seek to readjust and realign themselves in respect of trade, development, and economic growth post-COVID-19, coastal states and even landlocked countries have a huge stake in dealing with matters governing maritime security. For one simple reason, whatever measures and strategies put in place to revive economies would largely depend on trade.
Reports indicate that a total of 79 actual and attempted attacks were carried out in 2020 in the Gulf of Guinea, representing a 34% increase as compared to 59 attacks recorded in 2019. Similarly, there was a rise in the number of cases of kidnapping for ransom and hostage taken. In 22 separate attacks recorded in 2020, 130 out of 135 persons kidnapped globally were reportedly abducted in the Gulf of Guinea alone. This represents 95% of all kidnapping cases, with Nigeria recording 62, Benin 29 and Ghana 6. The situation, according to the Vice President, has become even more precarious considering that over the past 2 months, about 10 crew members of 2 Guinean-flagged fishing vessels have been abducted in separate incidents along the Gulf of Guinea.
First half of the year has witnessed greater piracy threats and activities with over 30 recorded incidents. These incidents led to some renowned maritime security institutions issuing a warning notice to all vessels plying the Gulf of Guinea. This is detrimental to the security and economic interests of the region.
Outlining a number of measures being undertaken by the government of Ghana, including acquisition of offshore patrol vessels, fast patrol boats and craft, and the construction of forward operating bases on the coastal frontiers, Vice President Bawumia said government will also see to training and welfare of the naval personnel to put in their best and to remain professional in the discharge of their duties.
Other stakeholders are not being left out of the task, as the Ghana Maritime Authority, the Ghana Ports and Harbors Authority, the fisheries sector, the various institutions in the oil and gas sector, and the entire maritime industry are being supported and encouraged for their transformation. That is not all. Government is set to endorse a comprehensive national integrated maritime strategy that will enhance interagency cooperation and thereby boost the collaboration among land, sea, and air forces and key stakeholders in the country.